91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Brand new music, Stephen Bernstein. Let's get him on air. You are tuned into LocalMotion here on 91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Joining us on the phone, Stephen Bernstein. Are you there?
Rita, I'm here.
Yay!
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk with you. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I just want to do a brief introduction by saying Grammy-winning trumpeter, composer, arranger, and band leader Stephen Bernstein has worked with a wide array of musicians with his bands Sex Mob, Millennial Territory Orchestra, Diaspora Soul, Universal Melody Brass Band, Spanish Fly, Blue Campfire, and the Butler Bernstein Hot Nine. A member of Levon Helm's Midnight Ramble Band, Stephen Bernstein has also composed works for film, theater, and dance. He will be bringing his band Sex Mob to the Falcon in Marlborough on Sunday, May 30th. With that, a welcome back to LocalMotion. It's been a while since we've spoken, Stephen.
Yeah, it is. And funny, I think you got, we keep getting new bios in musician world. I was like, oh my God, I got to tell Rita, she's got to get a newer bio. That's already an old one. But yeah, it's good. But this world is so funny. But yeah, nice to be here. Nice to finally play some live music.
Yeah.
Coming up, I can't tell you how excited I am.
I tell you, I love your, what is it called that you put on Facebook? Your music.
Oh, the pandemic 90-second late night at home pandemic brass band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's been fun. I kind of haven't done one because I feel like I'm kind of now moved on to the next stage of things.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. I'm really busy now. There's a lot of recording. And I had 14 months, 12 months where, there was whatever there was to do was just exactly what I wanted to do. So It's interesting. And that's what caused that brass band to come up. And, Rita, I don't know if you know this about me, but before people knew me up at Levon's, I was part of the downtown music scene forever. And I've always been part of the late night music scene. That's always been, since I started playing. And I did these midnight gigs at Tonic, and I had a regular, was called late night 11 o'clock gig at the Knitting Factory, and so when I would do these brass bands, I like to create at night. So here I am in the middle of the pandemic. Like, what are you going to do? And at midnight, I said, "Well, let me create some music." And
dude, your neighbors must have loved you.
No, luckily I got the coolest neighbors, but it was I had the windows closed.
Okay.
But anyway, I just put in one, and here's the deal. I started after midnight, right? That was the idea because it's a late night gig. It's like having a late night gig. But I wanted to be done by 2 because Mannix is on at 2. And I love Mannix. But the good thing about Mannix, if you don't catch the beginning, it doesn't really matter. It's just going to kind of be Mannix. So, yeah.
Well,
I can
now you can play live again. How nice is that?
Yeah.
Now, this is the show that you're bringing to the Falcon on May 30th. Let me just say that's Memorial Day weekend, right?
Right.
Yep. And it's a Sunday before Memorial Day, and it's at the beautiful outdoor stage. I saw you there last summer. You had Medeski there. Who's joining you?
It's regular Sex Mob, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's guests, but you have to understand, we've been a band for pretty close to 25 years
I was going to say, you got together in 96 from what I read.
Yeah, and since Brigham, the saxophone player, wasn't at the gig Medeski was on, we haven't played together for 14 months.
Wow.
So I kind of want to just get into it with the guys and see where we're at and have some fun, but I'm sure people sit in.
Right. Right.
There's so many friends of ours up there. You never know who's going to show up.
You never know. Just to back it up a little bit, you're from Berkeley, California, right?
A long time ago, yep.
A long time ago. We're about the same age. We're not that different. And
but I left. The funny thing is, I'm from Berkeley, but I left. I always visit, but I left in 1979.
Yeah.
That's a while ago.
That is a while ago. Yeah, New York's definitely your home now. I would definitely call you a New Yorker for sure. But that's where your start in music came, is in...
Well, and it has a lot to do with my music, actually. We've been talking about a lot with people, that the whole idea, what I grew up, the Bay Area music scene was so unique and amazing because it was really, so the whole Sly thing came out of the Bay Area.
Right.
And it was a very, the idea of being multicultural and your music having multi-influences was just kind of what I grew up with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that has to do with even with the Dead and that whole scene.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The airplane, the whole thing. Yeah.
I thought they were a local band. I didn't know they were famous. Seriously, until I moved to the East Coast. I'm going to tell you a funny story. So, I'm a total jazz and in general black music. That's been the music that always attracted to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I in high school I was listening to Palmer, because especially at parties, Palmer Funkadelic, Stevie Wonder, Ohio Players, that was really something we had been listening to. But mainly it was jazz music I was listening to. And of course, rock music's on the radio. You can't, it's the 70s. And you have friends who go to concerts, right? And I had these friends from as long as I can remember, like, oh, we're going to see the Grateful Dead this weekend. That's all I knew about the Grateful Dead was good. And how famous, because they're just playing in the local places.
Right.
But on the way to high school was a club called Keystone Berkeley. And they had a marquee. And I just remember for a couple of years, every time you walk by the marquee, it said Monday Night Jerry Garcia Band.
Whoa.
Now, I know, you understand, I don't know who Jerry Garcia is.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the Grateful Dead. But he's a Monday night guy. And one day I'm in a music store, and someone points to like this kind of Mexican hippie dude in a poncho, and they go, that's Jerry Garcia. And I just figured Jerry Garcia Band was like some like local Oakland Mexican like blues guitar player who had the Monday night gig at the local club.
Wow.
And then when I moved to East Coast and people started talking about the Grateful Dead, Jerry, I'm like, Jerry who? Jerry Garcia. I'm like, the guy who plays like the Monday night, like around the corner from my high school.
Right.
Like
right.
You went to Egypt. You went to Egypt to see the guy who plays on Monday night at the club.
Right.
Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
But the whole kind of Bay Area ethos of like experimentation, I think, has a lot to do with.
Did you ever go to a Dead show? You have to finish the story here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then I ended up going much later, of course, and then being a musician and knowing people. So the first time I went to a Dead show, I was probably 24, 22, 23. I met these kind of I played with the Flying Karamazov brothers, with these juggling vaudevillians, hippie vaudevillians that were involved in the Dead family. And then part of their kind of intended family was part of the Hog Farm family. And then other people, so they were, but the first time I went with Ola Tunji, and so we just walked in backstage at the Oakland Auditorium. So my first experience with the Dead show was showing up at the break in the middle. We walk in the back door with Ola Tunji and his manager, who was a friend of mine, and we just go to Bob Weir's, Mickey's room. We go into Mickey Hart's room, and we just hanging out. My first experience at a Dead show was just being in Mickey Hart's room, and then when the break was over, like we walked out and saw the show.
Wow.
And then every other time it's been, and I opened for them with the Hieroglyphics ensemble. Oh yeah, we opened for New Year's into 87 into 88.
I might have been there.
Yeah, it was
in Oakland, right?
Right, us, then Tom Tom Club.
Oh my God, I might have been there. I think that was the year I was there, 87 into 88. Wow, memory's a little foggy from then. I'm sure you understand.
Yeah, and then I opened for like the next version of the Grateful Dead with MMW, and I went to a bunch of shows, and of course since then, like I've arranged a bunch of Jerry songs and Dead songs for Warren Haynes for his orchestral record.
Oh wow!
Like, I've kind of grown to like have the Grateful Dead be like really part of my DNA.
Isn't that something?
Like it's so.
Isn't that?
I love it.
And didn't you play with like Weir and Lush at the Ramble?
Yeah, not together, but
right.
Yeah,
right.
I sat in. Well, what happened was Bob Weir was playing with Bruce Hornsby, and Bruce Hornsby's like a fan of my slide trumpet. So he said, "Oh, get Stephen to come and play," and we played. And then actually, the tune he wanted me to play, must have been like outside. They couldn't find me, but I went and I played some famous tune with Bob Weir and some kind of Dead tune that everybody knows. Not one I knew that well, but some Dead people are like, oh, that's a big one. So I just jammed on it.
Oh,
and
man.
then and then Phil sat in with Levon a bunch, when we were like playing gigs together, and once he just came and so I wouldn't say I know those guys that well, but they know, and Phil's always, according to Warren, I mean, Phil's one of the people who said like, no, let Stephen do some of these arrangements because I'm not a trained orchestral arranger.
I was just going to ask you that. Like, did you have like a classical training in school that you know how to do that?
Well,
or?
I mean, I just know how to arrange, and I went to school. I got a music degree. I didn't go to conservatory, but I know how music works. And I figured, well, why shouldn't I be able to arrange for an orchestra? It's just like arranging for a big band with more people and different instruments. So,
right.
And I figured if the Dead guys want me to do it, this is a great way to learn to do it because I can do it with the Bay Area Grateful Dead ethos, which is, hey, let's try this and see what happens.
Right.
So
Improvisation.
But it's also part of the Dead, to me, like, that's why I really like the Grateful Dead, because they actually have that ethos of, like, let's try something.
Yeah.
Because it might not work.
Right. But the audience would never know and would just love every note that they heard anyway. So it's you know, that's the one good thing with the Dead for sure. So when did you come out here? 90s? To the East Coast?
No, 79.
79, right. So you've been here.
So I started playing gigs in New York in summer '81.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You were a young guy then, and you've played with so many people. I mean, we could sit here the rest of the time and just talk about the people that you've played with. Was trumpet always your first instrument, Stephen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been a trumpet player.
Always been a trumpet player.
It's done me good because you think like trumpet, like people didn't even think like, oh, you know, you can play with so many different kinds of musicians, but that, you know, trumpet's actually a really much more versatile instrument than people give it credit for. You know, because it can be a very vocal instrument as well as like a lot of people tend to use it like in a very clearing on way only. But you know, trumpet can just do just about anything you want it to.
Yeah, it can. Now, talk to me, and I'm not by any means a musician. I'm just a music lover. The slide trumpet, which is apparently a very rare instrument.
Yeah, right. It doesn't really exist, but it's always existed. And I'll tell you something funny about it. So I've been playing. So the band I'm coming to the Falcon with on the 30th, Sex Mob, the whole way that band started was, let me see if I can put a band where I only play the slide trumpet. Because I thought the slide trumpet was cool, but I really couldn't play it that well yet. But I figured, well, if I put a band together where I play it, I'll learn how to play it, right? Which we were just talking about. Some people we're from that generation. That's how you learn. Like the new generation. A lot of people, you go to school, you go to graduate school, you get these degrees, you learn all this stuff. But in music, it was basically like you get on the gig and figure out how it works.
Right, and you play it.
You play it,
yep.
And you also play it like, look, it's one way to play it in a club where everyone's drinking. It's one way to play it in a club where people are just listening. It's one way to play it in a big concert hall. It's one way to play it in a basement club. It's one way to play it in a club with high ceilings. Like all those things you learn by playing.
Right.
And so that's why I wanted to put together a band. Like, let me figure out, because it's a lot different than just sitting in your room and playing.
Sure.
Like,
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I put together this band. And when I named it Sex Mom, I didn't realize that 25 years later I'd still have this band that would be kind of famous and because it's kind of it's a cool name when, like, you know, it's still, everyone knows it's like one of the greatest band names ever. But
Absolutely.
when you're 60 years old and have a band called Sex Mob, it's just kind of funny, you know.
It is. And your albums were also like Grammy nominated. The one I play the most is Sexotica.
Yeah, I'll tell you something funny. You know who the Black Pumas are, right?
Yes.
Well, I just was talking to that guy today, and we're doing a little project for this film stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, man, when we were in college, that's what we were listening to.
There
Sex
you go.
Mom." That's like,
yeah.
And I meet a lot of cool people that age who are like, Sex Mom kind of opened up their eyes about different things you could do with instrumental music than simply playing like in a jazz style that kind of people have been doing for a while, or the kind of like funky, but just funky and not utilizing the information from jazz, you know? And then we were like, well, why don't we just utilize all this stuff? Like, if we love Duke Ellington and we love the Beastie Boys and we love the Stones and we love Sun Ra, like, what kind of music is this going to make?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we've been doing. And also because we realized early on, like, because we were playing gigs, it wasn't like some kind of idea to play rock songs. It wasn't like a concept. Basically what happened was we had all this original music, right? And we have like a Thursday gig, and we're playing. And I'd written kind of like all my bands. We all just wrote original music. And I had done this Bond theme that I liked. And I started the Bond theme. And it's like, dance, kind of everyone's drinking, it's late at night, and suddenly go, and something like, it is, and the whole place, it literally exploded, like one of those cartoons where it's just like, the whole club goes like this.
Pow!
And I went like, and I was sort of like, oh, this is what we need to do. We need to play some, because it's not like it had been anything different, like musically, like with the feeling than what we had been playing before, right?
Right.
It was just, we'd been playing those kind of bluesy phrases, but this happened to be one that everybody knew. Mm-hmm. And I realized, oh, shoot, you can kind of play like anything. And then when you get to the part that everyone knows, they're going to love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that became like the concept of the band. Like we just play like what we play, and then we get to some tune, and suddenly you're like, "All right, it's that cool tune I like."
And now tell me about this music that we just heard before you and I started talking, Polly High.
Oh, so that's an interesting one. That's that Harry Nilsson tribute record.
Ah.
Now at the time, I didn't know anything about Harry Nilsson. In fact, until about a year ago, I remember Hal Werner was always saying to me, "Oh, Harry Nilsson," and blah, 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 blah. And I kept hearing about Harry Nilsson and Nyack, and the Beatles loved him, and he was some kind of rock guy that everyone liked, but he died young and kind of crazy, liked to party. But I didn't really, to be honest with you, I'd never knowingly listened to his music. And I turn on this, documentary called Who is Harry Nilsson? The music starts, and I go like, oh, shoot, I know every single one of these songs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when his was really hitting was when I was a kid and he was on the radio all the time.
Yep. Yeah.
So I knew all those songs, and it was when I saw this thing and realized how brilliant he was, I became like a total like, oh, now I see why everyone says Harry Nilsson. But at the time, I didn't know anything about him. It was just like a gig. My friend says, "Do you want to do this Harry Nilsson song?" So I said, "Yeah." I asked, "Can we get Kat?" And it was a funny thing.
And when you say Kat, we should say Catherine Russell.
Right, Catherine Russell.
Gotcha.
And they were talking, now this is probably 15 years ago, I think, when that was recorded. And I don't really know, but I'd say it was probably about 15 years ago. It could be more. Mm-hmm. All I know is we had just come back from Brazil. Thing is, I've traveled. That's another bizarre thing about the last 14 months. I traveled for a living for close to 40 years,
Except for now.
Yeah, but either way, we had just come back from Brazil, and we bought all these wood whistles, and been kind of like around that kind of culture. I think we had gone to Brazil and then to Argentina, Buenos Aires, for one night, and then got on a plane, and then I think the session was the next morning, and we're all kind of like, we've all been together. And I had this arrangement in my head, and it's kind of cool because it's a very Harry Nilsson-esque arrangement. Didn't even realize it. But, I use like Bell. I didn't even know what the song was about, but it kind of Polly High sounded like a high school marching band to me. So I just decided to like kind of push that side of it. And, anyway, we did the whole thing just in a few hours. And Tony played electric bass and guitar. I think it was the first time we did that.
Oh, man. It sounds awesome.
It's one of the first, it's the first time I tried to do something like that. Now I've done that for like 15, I think it's over 15 years. Because it was kind of the first time I tried this idea. Uh-huh. And so it might have been, maybe I was already doing the Hal stuff. It's hard. I should look at Roof. Either way, it was the beginning of my forays into like arranging pop music, but in my own style.
In your own style.
And, but really arranging it, and recording it. And it's kind of, I thought, and because Catherine Russell is and the other thing is, Catherine Russell is, she is as great a musician as you could possibly be. Mm-hmm. Like on every level, like on the artistic level, on the scientific level, on the technical level, she's like just the highest level musician. And she's also the highest level in her just being able to deliver a song, and whether you call it spiritual or vibrational or however you want to refer to that experience, besides just the excellence of how good she is at doing it, you know? Yeah. But it was the first time we'd done anything together, and she just came in, sang it, and then did her background parts. And I think from the beginning of the song to the end of the song was probably 4 hours.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, you guys got it together. Tell me about, if you would, also this other project, Millennial MTO.
So Millennial Territorial Orchestra is a band I've had for 20 years, and that's like a 9-piece band. And it started when Bill Frisell started using Tony and Kenny, and I had this, from Sex Mob, and I had this Friday night at Tonic at midnight, and we had a big crowd, we had a good scene, but it was just a crowd. It was like we had a scene, Friday at midnight, people were there to hang. And I said, well, I got this night. I don't want to lose it. I want to keep something going. So I just decided to start this 9-piece band. I had just got done doing the Robert Altman, me and Hal Wilner. Well, it was Hal's gig, but we'd done this Robert Altman film, Kansas City, and I was infatuated with the Kansas City music. I said, let me and like I said, we had at the time a whole scene of musicians. We were all in our 30s, late 20s and 30s. And we were all kind of playing downtown, and I just called 9 of my closest people and said, make this gig. Show up at 10:30, meet me downstairs, I'll show you some music. We'll get up there at midnight and make something happen. Right? Because I already have a crowd that knew from Sex Mob that if you come, you're going to see me make something happen.
Yep.
And so we did it, and it became this band. And at first, it was doing all music from that Kansas City era, like the 30s and late 20s. And then I "Ripple" by the Dead was the first tune I heard in my head.
Oh, nice!
And I said, "Man," I'm hearing this song in the way this band is playing, because the band had been playing together for a couple of months. So I wrote it out, this arrangement, and I was like, all right, now this band, even though it's based on late 20s vibe, we can be like Sex Mob and play like any song. So now this band, MTO, Millennial Territory Orchestra, the repertoire is whatever I want it to be. We made a record of all slide music where I had Bernie Worrell and Vernon Reed and Sandra St. Victor and Anoni, Anthony from Anthony and the Johnsons, and Martha Wainwright. And then we have what happens, I got a grant. I recorded 4 records in 4 days.
What?
Yeah.
Were you up 24/7 or what?
No, it's regular, 7-hour, 8-hour days. I don't want to push anybody.
Wow.
But see, when you got musicians like I do, and you have good arrangements, or at least good enough for me,
right?
What do?
Right.
You rehearse. Here's what you do. I'll tell you. Everyone sits around and eats, right? Everyone feeling good? Get them in the studio. Boom, boom, boom. Sounds up. Rehearse a song for 40 minutes, right? Cut it twice. Boom. Next.
Yeah, there you go.
Next.
There you go.
What do you need to do?
You know what? You're all professionals. So it's like when you have the caliber of people together like you get, that yeah. I mean, that happens.
But yeah, right. No, not right. And also, I think, let's see we're at a good age. We're kind of at peak power. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Still got our energy, but we have the knowledge of kind of playing 40 years of gigs and, 35 years of making records. And, you know what it takes to do it.
Sure.
Okay, here's how I need to store my energy to make this happen. Because it's a very, takes a lot of focus and energy direction to record, because you got to just really play really well and be in the moment and be grooving and have fun.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
But everyone's been doing it for so long that it just works.
It just works together. Okay. Yeah. I also go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, please go.
What I was saying is one of these records I did one with Cat Russell and with Catherine Russell with a band. And when it happened, that's when I really did. And, let me also say that I didn't intend to make 4 records. I had gotten a grant, and the grant was to document my music. I mean, the grant writers would have liked me to put out a record, but that wasn't a prerequisite. It was an artistic grant.
Right. Yep.
And to document my work.
Right.
So that was really what we went in there. We went in there to document these 20 years. I have hundreds of unrecorded arrangements. So it's let me get as many arrangements as I can recorded. And Cat came in, and there was no talk about making a record. I told Cat, how are we going to make a record? It's we have one day in the studio to record this stuff. And I listened to it, and it's incredible, because it's just Cat singing with this powerhouse 9-piece band going for it. And you can really feel the influence of Henry and Levon and those years of playing that kind of music. So many of the people in the band, all of the band, were in Henry's band, and then half of the band, pretty much everyone in the band also played in the Levon's band at some point.
Right.
Right. So all those experiences. So we're taking that, but we don't play it. I was going to play like a ramble band. It's the way we play.
Right.
But it has that experience in it of rhythm and the feeling of those kind of the great vibrations feeling of the rambles, And so I think we captured it, but of course it's wow. I mean, I'm so pleased with this, man.
I can't wait to play the rest of it, because the other two tracks we're going to play after you and I are done talking is the Come On track and also Planet Queen. Yeah. So right. I also, though, I can't leave you I can't leave without talking about Levon and your time with him. Tell me how you met Levon.
Well, it's funny. Like the band, so I keep saying, like, I didn't grow up listening to rock records, right? I had one rock record. I had Rock of Ages by the band. And the reason I had it is the record store I hung out at, which was the town store. They had a used copy, and I just hang out there all day and look through records. And I would open it up, because it's kind of cool looking cover, and there's like Howard Johnson and Smithy Young. I'm like, oh man, this has to be cool, man. I'm gonna get this record. And I didn't get it to the band. I got it because of Howard and Snooki,
Yeah.
So I'd had that record, and then of course I went and saw with my parents. My parents took me to see Last Waltz. They thought that was, we're from Berkeley.
Oh, get out! You were at the Last Waltz?
No.
Oh, the film.
That was the film.
Right.
But I remember seeing it. I remember my folks were like, "Come on!" We went on school night too. It was important. Family goes but I was in 11th grade, and then I loved that record so much. And then when I got it on cassette, listened to it in the car, and then when CDs came out, I got it on CD. But I didn't have any other band records. That's what I tell you, like a little. So I knew all these horn arrangements, like inside. And then Levon kind of like, would start to circulate with my scene. And the bass player in Sex Mob, Tony Scher, had played some gigs with Levon, both on guitar and bass. And he was talking about Levon, and then we'd be in the van with Sex Mob on the road, and Tony was playing, like, probably even cassettes back then of the band, like, so we were like listening to the band on the road suddenly. And then Eric was like, I've been playing these gigs with Levon. I'm like, well, that's cool.
Eric Lawrence.
Eric Lawrence, right, who's in the MTO with me,
yeah.
The Millennial Territory Orchestra, and an old friend. But not the oldest of these friends. Like, some of these people in Millennial Territory Orchestra, like Peter Applebaum, I've been playing with for over 40 years.
That's incredible. When I was doing my homework on you, you guys like grew up in Berkeley or something together.
Yeah, we've been playing together. I joined this band in 6th grade. No, I joined Peter's band in 6th grade.
Oh my God!
And I turned. I think now it's all getting cloudy, but I turned 21 on the road with Doug Wieselman.
Wow.
And
yep.
And I've known Ben Borowski since he was in high school.
Oh, my God.
Because Ben was in music and art, and I was already kind of on the scene, and he was hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Anyway, so we've all known each other, blah, 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 and I'm Levon. All right. And so anyway, Eric says to me, these gigs, I can't promise. I don't know if they're going to pay anything, but it's really fun, and Levon's trying to save his place, and he said it'd be cool to have a horn section. So we went up, and I'm kind of known as an arranger, so they sent me some stuff to listen to. I listened, and I think they even named some songs, and this is free, like Spotify, all that shit, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I bought a CD. I think I actually went and bought a CD that had some of like the Stack songs that were on this list.
Uh-huh.
But it was just this list of songs that I guess he'd been playing with was it called the Apple Pickers Union, Brendan's band?
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so I get there. And, it's a beautiful, it's upstate, it's beautiful. And they said, wear a suit because they're going to film it. And I said, film it. I got my suit with me, my downtown New York suit. And we said, well, maybe Levon will come downstairs and we'll rehearse. I said, okay. And I said, meanwhile, like, how about this? You guys have, like, here's some songs we like. So, can you get me, like, a little keyboard? Or maybe I brought my little keyboard to, like, learn some stuff. And music paper, and just give me a little list of some songs that you think he might do. So I do it, and I just start to sketch little charts of these songs that he might want to do. But meanwhile, I never meet him. And Eric said, Eric, look, man, here's the deal. I hate like when people make fake horn parts, it's all sloppy and not together. I said, look, don't try to play with me. Like, let me improvise, and then you improvise. But try like to be a horn section. We're gonna have horn parts. That's just gonna sound like amateurish, you know. I say I'll be like the trumpet player. I'll play whatever I think is best. And you be the saxophone player, and whatever you think is best.
Right.
So Ola Bill's there. We're doing that. And Levon gets up. We start playing a tune, and he just looks over and smiles because he told Amy, said, Amy said, how they do that? And Levon said, because that's what they do.
Aww.
But it was kind of unique because instead of trying to be the typical R&B thing of like, let's do a horn section. I said, no, let's not do a horn section.
Right.
Like, I'll improvise, you improvise, and we'll make something cool happen.
There you go.
And Levon was so into it. And people don't know, but we improvised the first couple of years with Levon. We didn't have any written music, barely.
You know,
we just improvised.
And the smile that Levon would give, I mean, I love the way he had his drum kit set up so he saw the whole band.
He saw the whole band. Yeah. But every once in a while, because we're improvising, every once in a while, of course, you might get to something he didn't want. He's playing drums, he look at you and go, no, man, no. I'm like, I don't know, but whatever I did, I thought that was the right thing, but I better not do that again.
Well, I tell you what, every time I was there with Levon, and even after Levon passed, you guys always looked like you were home, and it looked like you were having the time of your life when you guys were.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful, like on every level, the Ramble, like vibrationally, spiritually, musically, socially, physically, such a beautiful environment,
Right,
and then also an interesting thing was after, again, years of touring in club gigs, it's not a bar.
Right.
It's not run by some shady business people.
Right.
And it was so refreshing to be like at my job and not have that be part of it, that weird bar business thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, it was just this like, Barbara, she worked at the sheriff's office or whatever, and she was running it. Like,
right.
It's like cool. It's like,
Right.
Kind of nice not to deal with a music business person,
Yeah, you were there, you were playing the music, and, people were loving it. And, yeah, it's such a great, great vibe. Well, I definitely hope you make your way up there. But in the meantime, you got Sex Mob at the Falcon happening. And that's
the 30th,
May 30th. Yeah. Make a reservation live at thefalcon.com. Right. And, Stephen, give everybody your website so people can keep up with what you got going on. Because, boy, it's a lot.
Okay, it is. It's a StephenBernsteinMusic.net.
There you go. Stephen.
Wait, StephenBernstein.net. Right, Stephen Bernstein. There's so much new stuff happening in the world. Because I got email addresses and it's such a crazy world, Rita. And there's the whole Instagram. Luckily, I don't do Twitter, but like the whole Instagram and the Spotify and the followers and the likes and the likes.
It's unbelievable. StephenBernstein.net, and it's Stephen with a V, not a PH. Stephen with a V, Bernstein.net. And you know what? Trust me when I say you're going to love this guy, seeing him play live, because that is what you do best.
That's what I do. Well, I don't know if it's your best, that's what I do.
Well, no, it's what you do best. You are an unbelievable player, and you are so talented, Stephen. And I've never ever walked away. Sex Mob is such a great band. You guys don't come around all that often up to the Hudson Valley, so I make reservations now because
fun is good. Fun will ensue.
Yeah. So I'm going to play two of your tracks now. I'm going to say thank you for your time. And
thank you, Rita.
Oh, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Stephen Bernstein. Thank you for your time here today. And let's get everybody over to the Falcon on May 30th.
That's right. Sunday at the Falcon, people.
All right. You stay safe. Take care. Thank you. Bye. 91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Let's take a listen to some music by Stephen Bernstein right now.
people see me, but they just don't know what's in my heart and why I love you so. I love you, baby, like a miner loves gold. So come on, baby, let the good time roll. Let the good time roll. Yeah, baby. Let it roll. Yeah. So many people live in make-believe. They got a lot of things up their sleeve. My loving baby isn't the kind that folds. So come on, baby, let the good time roll. Love is nice when it's understood. It's even nicer when you're feeling good. You got me flipping like a flag on a pole. So come on, baby, let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. Yeah, let 'em roll. Yeah. Hey.
queen, a chance to dream. She used my head like an exploder, a planet queen. World's the same, I am to blame. She used my head like a revolver, the world's the same. chance to dream. She used my hand like a revolver. The world's the same, but it's alright. Love is what you want. Flying a saucer, take me away.